like 5 minutes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined today by the two goats of news and information, Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy, Mike Gallagher from Established Run. Justin, how are you handling this fine New Year's Eve?
Yeah,
Justin's like freaking out, like what's going on right now? Tyler's in protocols.
Yeah, great. This is perfect. It's been a challenge, man. I definitely am feeling a little bit of burnout already.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mike last night. I was hoping like this doesn't drag on for like more than another couple of weeks max, because it's crazy, man. Every day it's kind of like this. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I think it's going to be a situation where my guess is like the next 10 days I think are like this, and then after that I think it'll at least get to the point where the number of players on the health and safety protocols coming on and off is like a name or two, not 3 to 5 at a time, that you're just like trying to create baselines or figure out who these guys are, all these different things that we've been dealing with as well. So yeah, let's get into this because there's a game that starts in an hour. And I want to kind of start with the Indiana-Chicago game for those that are, late swapping their early slate lineups or playing showdown or whatever it is at this point. Indiana just ruled that Keelan Martin is going to be out as well. He's going into health and safety protocols. So they're without Duarte, Lamb, Martin, McConnell, Brogdon. TJ Warren's been out the whole year. Isaiah Jackson. It's a lot of wing players that they're missing in a game against the Bulls that you figure they need a lot of wing players, because the Bulls have two primary perimeter scoring options in DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine here. So, Justin, who do you expect to start? They have been going with this LeVert, Duarte, Turner, Holiday, Sabonis. They obviously don't have Duarte at their disposal. Now they don't have Keelan Martin as well, or Jeremy Lamb. Who do you expect to start here, and how deep into these rotations are we getting tonight for Indiana?
Yeah, I would think it'd be LeVert, Holiday, Craig, Domas, and Miles, just logically. And they basically have 11 players available, but I'm not sure how keen they are on playing 4 of them. The 4 of them are Kiefer Sykes, Dwayne Washington, Terry Taylor, and Nate Hinton. So I expect like a pretty heavy dose of 6 of them. The starters play Shaper set, and you'll see some Goga Batadze as well behind Miles Turner to provide depth. But like 1 through 3, these guys should play a ton of minutes. Like Justin Holiday, I mean, gets up there probably high 30s at the time. They're just so thin, especially in that backcourt in the wing.
Yeah, I agree. I would say 100%. I think Torrey Craig gets the DeMar DeRozan matchup, and then Holiday gets the LaVine matchup. You're going to fill in. I think they're going to play Sykes, and I think they're going to probably play Dwayne Washington, because Carlisle said a few games ago they wanted to play Washington, and then when they got Sykes in, they wanted to play him. So I think they kind of fill in some of those backup guard minutes. But yeah, O'Shea Brissett, we've seen him play 3 through 5 last year, so he's capable of filling time. So yeah, he'll play quite a bit. But yeah, as you said, that's pretty much where you're looking at. And we'll see how high LeVert's minutes can go too. They're going to really need him to really run the offense and organize.
So do you guys think this is a situation where we're seeing like 37 to 42 for like their main starting 5 tonight?
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I mean, it's a 3.5 point spread, so the game, projects to be pretty close. And like the lack of depth on they're gonna be digging some deficits if they're playing the back end of this bench significant minutes. So I do expect probably 36 to 40 for the majority of these starters.
Yeah, and this is one of the challenges about trying to do projections around this time, is like trying to figure out when and where to be aggressive on situations you've never seen before. And this seems like the distinction that I've been trying to make with our team is when the gap between NBA talent like falls off a cliff, then get more aggressive on the starters and just understand that and we were trying to figure this out with this first game with Jalen Smith. Like they had no backup bigs, basically. Like how high can we go on Jalen Smith? Guy's never really played into the 30s or anything because he hasn't had a role in the league. And so those situations are super, super tough. I think at least with this Indiana situation, we've seen Sabonis, we've seen Holiday, we've seen LeVert. Those guys get their minutes up into the upper 30s. So I think it's pretty likely there.
Yeah, I'll say 2 things. The first thing, it's not a back-to-back. They play Wednesday and the next game on Sunday. And then another thing is that their coach is Rick Carlisle. He's like a pretty has a track record of like playing his vets, not really wanting to dip into his rookies or his younger players, inexperienced players. So this is a situation where it also matters like the number of reps and games that the bench players have with the team. And it's really not the case in these situations with all these 10 days and these guys just, coming off the street kind of. So it just kind of adds, I think, to the floor, to the reasoning that you would think that these starters would play, pretty heavy minutes tonight.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the other situation that is just a disaster today, which is Miami. And I mean, I've been adding player baselines for Miami guys. Like I think I'm up to like 20 something guys on the roster now. Just like the last 2 days, I feel like I've just been adding names left and right, names that I've never heard of. So yeah, they are without officially Bam Adebayo for injury, Cheatham for health and safety protocols, Dwayne Dedmon injury, Marcus Garrett health and safety protocols, Udonis Haslem health and safety protocols. Kyle Lowry, though there was a report that there was some optimism that Lowry might be able to clear. So I think there's a chance that Lowry could come back. Markieff Morris is out with injury. KZ Okpala out with injury. Victor Oladipo's been out the whole year. Then Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, PJ Tucker, Gabe Vincent health and safety protocols, which are like the four guys that have been playing a ton in the absence of Jimmy and Lowry and Bam. So Jimmy is questionable with an ankle sprain. It seems like I kind of think that San Antonio game, my thought was that they were listing him with an injury, like with a questionable tag, but going to rule him out if there was any chance they could get the game postponed. I don't think they can get the game postponed for this one because I think they have just signed enough bodies that the league's going to be like, yeah, you got to play this. So I kind of think Jimmy's going to play. I don't know. What's your read on the situation, Justin? And do you have any indication of whether we might be able to see anybody test back in other than the rumors around Lowry?
Yeah, so I think they'll play for sure. They have 9 like solid available players. They have their 3 regulars and Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, your 7, and the 6 guys they just signed: Kyle Guy, Highsmith, Holman, Chalmers, Stauskas, and Silva. So they have a solid 9. So the reports from our Winterman are that Lowry traveled. He's on his way to Houston to rejoin the team. They're thinking that he just needs one more negative test to test back in and be cleared. The speculation too is Jimmy Butler's questionable status is dependent on the status of Kyle Lowry. If Kyle Lowry clears, Jimmy Butler will sit. If Lowry is unable to clear, I think there's a chance that Jimmy Butler does play. There's also a report that Marcus Garrett would be able to test back in because he might have had a false positive and enter the protocols that way. So that's another kind of rumor floating out there too. So I think they have 9 solid. Their 10th is going to be either Kyle Lowry or Jimmy Butler, depending on the status of Kyle Lowry. They might have 11 if Marcus Garrett is able to clear. So somewhere between 9 through 11 for the Heat tonight. So they're going to be really short again up front. Basically, your 7. Then their backups are Chris Silva, who has some experience with the Heat, and then this new guy Eric Holman too. So I'll toss it to you guys. There's lots to kind of break down here. Hero,
I'll toss it right to Mike. We'll go hot potato on this one. Mike, who the hell's going to play for Miami?
Jimmy legit.
Who are the guys that they're actually going to play in this game of these guys that they just signed?
Well, Jimmy legit turned his ankle late in the 4th. Like it was a straight sprain. So I think there's a chance he sits. So that leads to question. Like I think if Jimmy sits, I think it's Hayward Highsmith starting. He's kind of got like some size and kind of fits the role of what they want. Kind of like almost like a Marcus Garrett, but with a little bit more size. So I think he would be taking on that starting role. Mario Chalmers would be backing up Tyler Hero for probably like maybe 5 minutes, however many minutes Hero sits. He'll get some wing minutes as well. It's crazy. Super Nintendo Chalmers is back in our lives. Kyle Guy, kind of the combo backup guy. I think Hayward Highsmith may start regardless if Jimmy goes, and then Guy and Chalmers would be kind of the bench unit. Caleb Martin's going to play a ton. We know he's a capable 3-4 man. They trust him in a lot of situations, and Chris Silva's I think Chris Silva, who, as you mentioned, he knows the Miami system. We know Spo is a very big system guy. It's the reason why they took so long to develop KZ Okpala, because he couldn't pick up the system for so long. So I would expect Chris Silva to cut into a little bit of the upside of your 7. But it's pretty thin there.
Yeah. Silva was with the Heat for a number of years. So that should be, as long as he's like conditioned and everything, that should be a slide right in situation for him to be able to play like, I don't know, 16 to 20 minutes, something like that would be my guess right off the bat. So you're at 7, probably going to be in for another really, really big role. And obviously, Tyler Hero is going to just take a ton of shots in this game. So I would expect, there to be places to attack on the Miami side here. And I would expect it not really to be the G League type guys that are getting called up. I think there's still enough NBA talent to take all the usage and dominate all the possessions there. Okay. In terms of other, COVID situations, let's go to Atlanta. They've been a train wreck, throughout this whole thing with health and safety protocols, but they're getting Lou Williams back. I don't know what has happened to Kevin Huerter. Suppose he was maybe going to test back in like 5 days ago. I don't know if there's like a totally different variant that Kevin Huerter has that he can't kick or what's going on, but he is still out in health and safety protocols. Bogdanovic, John Collins, Sharif Cooper, Korchi Jang, Danilo, who should be somewhat close as well, I would think. Gallinari, because he's been in protocols for a while. Jalen Johnson, TLC, Onyeka Okongwu, DeLon Wright. It's basically Trae Young, Clint Capella, and whoever else is willing to suit up for Atlanta these days, which we've seen Trae Young and Capella have huge ceilings here. They're going to get a Cleveland team that's playing on the second night of back-to-back, and a Cleveland team that will get Jared Allen back. He's listed as probable today. So I do think the matchup gets a little bit more difficult for Capella with Jared Allen back. But Trae Young is going to get a backcourt, that has no experience with Cleveland. I imagine they'll throw a Coro on Trae Young mostly, but it'll still be like an inexperienced. Like I expect a ton of usage here from Trae Young. Projects as a competitive game. What does the rest of the rotation look like for Atlanta today, Justin?
Yeah, I think we kind of have a similar idea. I would echo what you would say about this Cavs defense. I have a lot of respect for them. They've been a top 5 unit for most of the season. They have their core pieces back. Their backbone back.
Yep.
Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. So you can attack this Cavs defense when those guys were sidelined. Yep. But I wouldn't be too keen to really attack this defense, even in a second leg of a back-to-back. Like you said, Trae Young's probably my favorite option out of the group, and don't really have a ton of interest in splashing elsewhere just because of my respect for this Cavs defense.
Yeah, and I'll add too, McMillan said before the last game that he basically has no subs for Trae, Reddish, and Capella, and we saw Capella get kind of longer stints than usual. I think he played like a 9.5-minute stint in third quarter or first quarter, I forget. So the minutes can be pretty good for him. They're going to need all that size, obviously. Not a great matchup, but and also he said Reddish's legs were dead. He was saying after the game too. So
yeah, I feel like
kind of dial him back a little bit.
Reddish is a guy that I've been trying to pick and choose spots to fade because I just think like he's so scoring dependent, and also like his body is not held up well as a pro so far. And this has just been a big ask for the last week and a half. Not only the minutes that he's playing, but go lead the team in usage for like 3 games, and then also be our primary defender. And like it's a lot that they've been tacking on him. On the opposite side, I did want to talk about the Cleveland situation because obviously, like they're getting Jared Allen back. They're mostly healthy in the front court now, but the back court, with the losses of Sexton, Garland still in protocols, Rubio lost for the season as well. They made a trade today to get Rajon Rondo. They also signed Brandon Goodwin, who had some good roles with the Hawks the last few years as like a backup point guard as well. We saw Pangos play a lot last night, and then Nembhard behind him, which was really surprising. I was like, what the hell is going on with Denzel Valentine? What the hell was going on as he was in a trade? That's why he DMP CD'd last night, was because they were negotiating this trade with Rajon Rondo and they just weren't going to risk him. My question to you, Justin, I was talking about this with Mike earlier, is do you think – I don't expect Rondo to be available today.
No.
And then do you think Goodwin eats into either Pangos or – because I think Goodwin's a better player than Pangos right now, but he has no experience with the system. So, like,
he's brand new. I mean, I would say I would lean towards him maybe getting some nominal minutes, but not really cutting into them. Like, Pangos played 16 first half minutes. Like, that was a pretty sizable rotation, 15.7 minutes in the first half, like way more than I thought he played. Obviously, didn't do that well, had a really, like, lower usage, like not really attractive DFS play. I do wonder if, like, just after last night, his minutes kind of come down a little. Like, what do you think his minutes projection is for today?
We have him at 28 right now. We had him. We missed bad yesterday. We had him at like 25 yesterday, so we missed real bad yesterday, thinking that they'd run a Coro sum at the point because they had done that in summer league and some different things, and it just didn't happen at all. I thought he was fine out there, but I really think Goodwin's a better player. Like I'm really confident in that. I know like point guards need some level of experience with the system, and he has none. So that's the thing. I basically have Goodwin cutting into Nembhard's minutes right now. And Pango's playing like 20.
So is Goodwin officially signed? So we got the Scotto report like 2 hours ago. I don't think the Cavs have officially announced.
Yeah,
no, he's not.
So I would be wary of that too.
Oh, I thought it was on the 10-day transaction log for today.
Was it?
Yeah, Cavaliers signed Brandon Goodwin to 10-day contract.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I had it as official, so that's why I was like starting to project some of that. So we'll see. I do think it's a slight risk to Pangos. Not that you're probably not considering playing Pangos regardless. There's too much value. But yeah. Okay. Let's go to the Clippers.
Yeah. I'll add too. I think Goodwin could legit start. I mean, Nate McMillan, he likes to. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm saying it's possible. Revenge, right? But Nate McMillan really likes to hunt matchups. That's one of his things he always does. And you put Pangos out there, he's gonna get freaking picked on. So if I'm Bickerstaff, I'm trying to avoid that, put a little more size out there. Goodwin's not a great defender either, but just throwing it out there.
Okay, let's go to the Clippers, where Reggie Jackson has cleared protocols, but is questionable with conditioning. It's a really big deal because they're without Paul George, they're without Nicholas Batum, they're without Kawhi Leonard, obviously. They're also now without Zubats and Hartenstein. They are just bleeding bodies in the front court. And Reggie Jackson's one of the few guys that can really pick up a ton of usage for them. It's basically Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, and Luke Kennard as guys that can kind of create their own shot a little bit. Terrence Mann's usage has picked up in the last few games, but that's normally not his role. So the Clippers with the bigs, like how do they try to get through this period against this Toronto team that's very, very willing to play small, but Toronto is now getting all their guys back. So what do the Clippers look like today, Justin, from your angle?
Yeah, I'm wondering if they start both Marcus Morris and Serge Ibaka together, which I would lean towards as of now. But that leaves like Justice Winslow as their backup center-ish. Like their 4 or 5 backups would be like Amir Coffey and Justice Winslow. So I do wonder if they kind of stagger them like a little bit and just maybe go smaller and start Morris and bring Ibaka off the bench. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, they have 11 available as of now. They just signed Wenyen Gabriel officially. So they'll have 12 with Jackson. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Jackson's presence is a big deal because like if he's not out there, then their second unit backcourt is like Xavier Moon and Keon Johnson. And it would be pretty massive workloads for like Eric Bledsoe and Luke Kennard, just given the lack of backcourt depth. So Marcus Morris in a good spot regardless. He's going to be out there shooting. Obviously, I think a better spot without Reggie Jackson, but still, given the guys are missing, his usage should be through the roof.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson was cleared for the last one, but was doubtful for the road game in Boston. So he should be good, but never know.
Yeah, these spots where a guy misses the game before due to conditioning, he usually has a good chance of returning the next game.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely think he plays. And it's also somewhat like the timing's actually pretty good because he had this quad contusion that was kind of keeping his minutes down. So he won't have full minutes today, but maybe that's kind of healed and maybe could help him, 2-3 games from now, just something to put in your back pocket. But I think Winslow's the backup 5 before back in the preseason. Lou said, who's out today, that he's going to be the backup 5 at times if they're missing guys. So, yeah, I definitely think Winslow. And it's a good spot, too. We know the Raptors will try to go small. But, yeah, it's pretty ugly. I think they bring Wenyen Gabriel in, but I think they're probably planning to put Winslow in there.
Yeah. I'm pretty concerned about this game staying competitive. The line moved from 4 to 6.5, which I still feel 6.5 is a little bit light. Just because if Toronto really has all their main guys back, I think Toronto's team is pretty decent when they have everybody healthy. They really haven't had everybody healthy all year. They're without Siakam to start the year. And then health and safety protocols just started wreaking havoc on their team. They're not a particularly deep team, but they're top heavy. And I think they match up really well with this Clippers offense in terms of being able to shut down dribble penetration and just force a lot of contested threes is my guess on what's going to happen in this game for the Clippers. So I'm a little bit gun shy on the Clippers offense here. I just could see it getting pretty messy for them.
Yeah,
I'll add to
7.5 out there too already for this game. Like the line's creeping. Already 7.5 at some folks. So yeah.
And I was just gonna add, Nick Nurse did not mess around. Bring Siakam and Trent off protocols, plays him 40 minutes. So
that guy's a maniac.
That guy, man, love it.
So insane. I was like probably low 30s. Siakam 42 minutes. Trent 41 minutes. Like what in the world?
Yeah.
For his last name is Nurse. He doesn't care about anybody's bodies, man. It's weird.
I think the great thing about Nick Nurse is he like made his way as like a G League coach or whatever, and he just has such disdain for anybody who's not like an NBA rotation player. Because if you're not like an NBA rotation player on Nick Nurse's team, you're like not allowed to play at all. Like he just like even Boucher, who he just cannot deal with. Like he's like, okay, fine, everybody's dead. You can play Boucher. Okay, let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks have been in and out of the health and safety protocols situation. We've got Fournier questionable, no Julius Randle, which is the big one. And so like Julius Randle carries a bunch of this offense in a lot of different ways. He allows a lot of different lineup combinations for them to play as well, because he can play at the 5 some too. So replacing Julius Randle is a really big deal. They do have a lot of their depth back on the whole because they were ravaged for a little while, and they're not as much now. They've got Quickly back, they've got Grimes back, they've got McBride back, so on and so forth. So what do you think on Fournier's availability today, Justin? And then how do you think they try to replace Julius Randle? Does Obi Toppin just slide right into that role?
Yeah, I do expect Obi Toppin to slide in that role, and Alec Burks probably closes in that lineup to finish games. But yeah, I don't really have a strong read on Evan Fournier. Mike, do you have any sort of intel?
Tom Thibodeau called him quote nicked up before the after the game. So yeah, it sounded like that it was just kind of a late thing. He said he wasn't feeling himself, so it was something he was dealing with too. So probably playing, but definitely a chance he doesn't play.
I do really worry about this Knicks offense and their ability to score, especially without Julius. And if Fournier is actually nicked up, you're probably seeing some Lou Dort on Kemba Walker too. And like, yeah, I mean, just kind of looking up and down this roster and against this Thunder defense, I really do have concerns about this team, even hitting like 100 points like tonight. I think they'll struggle a lot as a whole without Julius.
Yeah, I agree with you that Toppin starts just because if they had a big in either Jericho Sims or Nerlens Noel, I think they would for sure have started Taj, but they don't, so they can't. So, I'm with you there, and I agree 100% that I think the closing lineup, if things go the way they plan, which hasn't been happening lately, would be Kemba, Barrett, Burks, Mitch, and then probably, Grimes over Toppin, unless Toppin's cooking, plans
or Fournier, if Fournier is available.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I meant to say Fournier over Grimes. Yeah. That's my bad,
it'll be interesting to see how they try to approach this. I mean, Grimes is a guy that can't really create his own shot. He did a little bit in college, actually, so maybe I'm discounting that. He was a lead usage guy at Houston in college, but he has not been that. He's been a stand on the corner guy in the pros. Toppin's been basically like a roll man, transition type guy, has not been able to really create his own shot a ton. And Julius is the one who usually creates shots for everybody. So this will be really interesting to see how the Knicks try to handle this. Do you guys feel more confident in the minutes for like Mitch Robinson with Julius Randle out and Toppin having to slide in the starting lineup, or do you still think that Mitch is going to be a highly volatile player regardless of any possible small ball lineup combinations being thrown out?
I don't think it affects a ton, in my opinion. What do you think, Mike?
No, I don't feel good about it. I mean, there were like 3 questions after Tibbs' press conference in the last game, and like he redirected the question just to brag about how much he loves Taj Gibson. It was ridiculous. I was like, dude. Someone asked him about like Alec Burks, and like he just went on this tangent about Taj. It was like, what are you doing? But so I'm nervous about Taj cutting into Mitch a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the Timberwolves, who are getting some guys back. They've been ravaged of late, expecting to have Taurean Prince, Anthony Edwards, and Jared Vanderbilt back. It's still a ragtag bunch with no D'Angelo Russell, no Karl Anthony Towns. So what are we looking at in terms of starters? Do we think there's any conditioning concerns around these guys in terms of their return? Because normally, if you're playing without D'Lo and without Cat, you'd think this is a really good spot for Anthony Edwards to just soak up a ton of usage. But is there any risk that he's not ready to kind of come back and play the mid to upper 30s minutes? And obviously, it's a very tough matchup in Utah.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So beat writer Chris Hines speculated that McDaniels likely goes back to the bench today. The quote from Finch, too, was that Edwards and Vanderbilt are both full goes. They'll keep an eye on their conditioning, but there's no official minutes limit for either of those two. So the starting lineup should be Beverly, Edwards, Beasley, Vanderbilt, and either Naz Reid or Nathan Knight, whoever Finch likes more. He has shown an affinity for Nathan Knight lately. So obviously a huge
or Greg Monroe.
Or Greg Monroe, yeah. I think by now he finally knows his teammates, knows who he's playing with now. So the Anthony Edwards, the quotes yesterday were crazy. He's pumped, he's really excited. He said he couldn't sleep. The worry here, I think overall, is just the game environment. There is legit blow up potential here against the Jazz. It's a 12.5-point spread. It's the only double-digit spread on the board. So I wouldn't go too crazy with any of these Wolves guys, but Anthony Edwards, I think the minutes should be, pretty solid, and the usage, should be through the roof. So, that's the only.
The good news for Anthony Edwards is he thinks the matchup is really soft, right? He thinks Rudy Gobert is not that really big of a deal in terms of rim protection. So, I'm looking forward to potentially seeing some poster opportunities tonight for Gobert and Edwards.
Yeah, he's gonna go at him for sure, which is good. I love to see driving, and he's smashed. He's gone off against number 1 defense in Golden State, dropped 48 on them, dropped 33 on Miami. He can play really well in bad matchups, and man, I mean the usage could be real high here. And you mentioned the exact quote from, as you mentioned, quote, "I probably won't sleep tonight. It's probably going to feel like I drafted again. It's going to be fun." So he is ready to go.
All right, let's talk about Portland. They've been a mess of late as well. They lose Anthony Simmons. They throw him into the health and safety protocols. In return, the health and safety protocols gods throw back Dennis Smith Jr. and Ben McLemore in replace of Anthony Simmons. So, 2 guard bodies for one. I'm not sure it's a trade that Portland would normally make. But in this situation with their roster the way that it is, they might. What are we looking at for Portland in terms of trying to get through another game without CJ McCollum, without Yusuf Nurkic, and leaning heavily on Norm Powell, Larry Nance Jr., Damian Lillard, and Nasir Little?
Yeah, I think Powell and Little see big minutes again. They're still pretty thin on the wing. I think this just adds to the upside of Damian Lillard potentially going from Simons to DSJ, maybe a couple extra minutes there against a soft Lakers defense. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen this iteration of the Blazers mostly for a bit now, so we kind of know what to expect generally.
Yeah, they've run into a lot of traditional bigs, and they might not do that today. So Larry Nance is running a really tough spot. So I feel like Larry Nance, he's going to guard LeBron, which is certainly a downside. He's done that before, and he's actually done a decent job over time. But I think this is kind of a sneaky Nance spot because they could get away with it. And hopefully doesn't get into foul trouble. But yeah, I think the headline is my God, Dame can play on. I think he wants to go out there and put up a big number, a great matchup. So definitely got to look at tonight.
Yeah, look at those numbers for the Portland guys in that game. In a game, they score 105 points, and you've got Dame for 32, 6-4, Nance 14, 9-9, and Norm Powell with 32, 2-2. Yeah. Just kind of goes to show the rest of the options that they have are not going to take a lot of shots. Like they've got old crime dog McGriff out there, Reggie Perry, Brandon Williams, who went back into health and safety protocols. These guys who come and play like a game and then go right into health and safety protocols are really having the time of their lives in the NBA. And the Lakers defense has seeded fantasy points all year long. And
you mentioned their supporting cast not liking to take shots. You lose one of those guys at Anthony Simons now too. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. One of the few guys that would be willing to take shots, right? Yeah. You're going to have a lot of usage, concentration around Lillard and Powell specifically. And then you're going to have a lot of rebounding opportunities concentrated around Larry Nance. And I do think the smaller lineups the Lakers have been playing really suit Larry Nance quite a bit because the Lakers are playing faster. That's one of the big things that's happening with these smaller ball lineups. They're allowing Russ to get out in transition. They're allowing LeBron to basically grab rebounds and go. And they're playing a little bit quicker. And I think that's a really good thing for Nance as well, who gets a lot of his offense in transition, can wreak havoc with steals and blocks in transition game as well. So I think this is kind of a sneaky spot for Portland. There's obviously some blowout risk just because they're really, really, really banged up and really bad. But the Lakers have had a hard time blowing out anybody. So I think this is a pretty good spot to attack. On the Lakers side, you've got Trevor Ariza, return to competition, reconditioning, questionable. Avery Bradley, questionable with a head contusion. LeBron with that probable tag once again. So the Lakers are getting on the healthier side of things. Obviously, they're still without Anthony Davis, going to be without him for a while. They traded Rajon Rondo, and they're without Kendrick Nunn. But they've got like kind of a full arsenal, and they've tightened things up a little bit. They've just also been a little bit funky with like the back end of the rotation. Wayne Ellington was available last game, did not play. That was surprising to me that he fell behind Collison specifically, but Stanley Johnson too. And then Talen Horton-Tucker has really fallen out of favor of late. If Avery Bradley were out and Trevor Ariza were out, that would open up some more pass for these guys. But I think if they're both in, it's still like it's basically going to be, are you playing LeBron or not? And then, maybe occasionally you mix in Russ and GPPs. Not a lot to really like from the Lakers on the whole.
Where do you put LeBron in terms of the top end options today and priority spends?
Pretty high up there. Yeah, I still have some more projection work to do on rates for some of the high end guys, but just like thinking through it, Portland, like this is an unbelievable matchup for him to be able to attack. So, and him playing at the 5 really boosts his fantasy appeal quite a bit. We've got him as a top projected option in ceiling by like a decent margin, by like 4 points ahead of everybody else. Dame second, Trey third. So,
yeah, in terms of like points per dollar of the top end guys, I'd probably lean towards Dame ahead of LeBron. But I mean, that game environment is super juicy. You got bad defenses, both teams small. Larry Nance Jr. LeBron at center. Like, man, that 227 might be a little low on the over.
I feel the same way. Okay, let's talk about I guess Utah. Conley out. They do the little guard swapperoo. Conley out. Donnie Mitchell back. Utah has been remarkably healthy for the last 2 years. Them and the Suns have been the two teams that have like avoided all this stuff. The Suns are just starting to get hit by it now with the health and safety protocols. But yeah, so Utah game environment's tough. They're 12-point favorites.
Yeah. Dwayne Washington starting for the Pacers.
All right, from not playing at all to starting. That's the way things go. We'll have to hop off in a minute here to adjust projections, but that was not expected. We were expecting Torrey Craig.
Decent minutes, but
that just might be a nominal start. No, like it's like the 20 minutes or something, and then Torrey Craig's the lion's share of those minutes.
I think that's more likely the case. I think the question is like, it's tough to know. We just haven't seen these situations, but I think that's more likely the case than not. So let's roll through these last ones real quick. I don't think we need to talk about the Jazz too much with Conley out and Donovan Mitchell back. We've seen them. The Thunder, though, we should talk about because Giddey's out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is questionable. Kenrich Williams is questionable. And they got a slew of guys in health and safety protocols as well. Usually the Thunder are the one team in the league that I have a hard time following the roster on. Right now, there's a good 22 teams that I can't follow the rosters on. The Thunder are just one of them. So last game, I mean, we saw. Look at this. Ty Jerome, Paul Watson, Aaron Wiggins. I mean, just like incredible. And they were actually willing to play these guys a lot. So if Shai is out again, I do think there's a lot of opportunity here. Dort 3 for 18. That is a lot of usage though in that spot for Dort. So how do you think? Do you have any intel on Shai and whether he'll be available with this ankle soreness? And how do you think things line up in the absence of Shai in like not that bad a matchup against the Knicks? The Knicks have been struggling defensively this year.
Yeah, I would just lean generally with the Thunder with questionable guys out just because they've been a tanking team just in the past. And SGA with his torn plantar fascia last year, we saw what the case with that was. But yeah, if SGA ends up missing again, Ty Jerome, man, what a great role! 35 minutes. Led the Thunder in usage last game, 30.3% usage rate. So just an absolutely great spot. And you look at this box score, you love to see it. You love to see the minutes concentrated. It makes it more predictable. Paul Watson playing 37 minutes. So like we saw Mike Wilkes just throw those 4 starters, a committee at center. I would expect that to be the case again. Kenrich Williams probably leans a little bit more out today. So yeah, I mean, what you see here is what you get. And I love that they're playing the Knicks here. as someone who bets the Knicks more often than any other team, the Knicks rarely blow teams out. And it's usually down to like the last possession in the last couple of minutes. So I feel good about the competitiveness of this game overall. So yeah, just a great spot for Jerome if SGA misses.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I was going to add. I'm pretty sure Cambridge isn't playing. He rolled his ankle pretty good. Did not return after the game. Wilkes, their new assistant coach, or who's the coach now, didn't seem very optimistic. Shea, I don't know, but as you said, you always are not optimistic about him playing. They did just get Alexei Pokashevsky out of protocols as we were talking here. So that changes a little bit of the math on here. So, I mean, that would probably take Scotty Hobson away and they would kind of shift guys down. It takes a little. I mean, they might start Poku in the Watson spot. I mean, they got a pretty good look at him. It's possible.
I mean, I think it would be likely, honestly, if his condition is okay, just because Poku brings a little bit of secondary creation as well and ball handling that could be useful along with the size.
And I'll add too. I think like having Watson has kind of similar skill set to Cambridge, not as good of a passer, but like he has that positional flexibility where he can play kind of 2 through 4.
Yeah.
So he kind of fits in that rotation role a little bit better than Poku does.
Okay. I guess the last one we can go to is Lonnie Walker, who's questionable for San Antonio.
Wow, is this because you want to talk about Brim Forbes?
I mean, I've made most of our prop betting money on Brim Forbes props this year, and I just am always interested if we're going to get more bites at the apple with Brim Forbes. But San Antonio's without DeJounte Murray. He's in health and safety protocols. I guess Lonnie got upgraded to probable on the last injury report, so it sounds like he's going to be good to go. So I guess we probably don't even need to touch on it too much, right? Like.
No.
Yeah. One other thing that came through while we were on the show is Scotty Barnes got downgraded to question.
Oh no.
Injury. So that's something to keep an eye on.
How is he hurt? What has he been doing?
Yeah. He's he's an old guy. He's got knee tendonitis,
Yeah, right. But the way Nurse is playing him, he's like Nurse's new tips, man. Like he's just gonna put orthopedic surgeons in business for years.
It's literally insane to just play guys 40 minutes off the protocols like that. Like that's crazy.
Outrageous. All right. Well, that'll do it for us here on Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, thank you to Justin Fan making time for us on a hectic news day. His team over at Underdog Fantasy is the best in the business. Make sure to follow them on Twitter, underdog__NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make sure to follow them on Twitter. Best account in the business in terms of getting news and getting it fast so you can make moves on your DFS lineups, on your prop bets, and everything else that you're trying to get out there. For the three of us, want to wish you all a happy new year. Hope you guys have a healthy and happy start to the new year in 2022. For premium subscribers at Established Run, we will not be having a show this afternoon. We will take off New Year's Eve, but we will have top plays. We'll have an article. I know we've been abandoning top plays during health and safety protocols, but we'll have that article instead of the show today. So we're working on that behind the scenes. We'll get that up by 5 o'clock. Projections will continue to update all night long. We've got the projection team on it. So good luck in all your games tonight. We will see you Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern, same time, same place. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your New Year's. Best of luck, everyone.